Hi, I'm Mark Wybrow, and this is the Electronic Cafe, the channel for the lovers of electronic music.
And I'm Andy McNabb, so let's get started. So welcome to episode 31 of the Electronic Cafe. This is one of our special interview editions. As you know, we've already done this with Atlas and the amazing Tiny Magnetic Pets. But in this particular episode, we are showing you our conversation with the incredible Colin Wallace. Mark and I were talking about paying homage to the incredible Cocteau twins as one of our favourite bands. As is, I know they are for a lot of people. When I hear their stuff, I get incredible memories. But one of my friends, Rob Halgate, when I mentioned that we were really looking at doing something special for the Cocteaus, he said, well, why don't you meet my friend Colin? I went, okay, who's Colin? And he told me Colin Wallace, who was from Scotland, who grew up with the Cocteaus, toured all around Europe with them, known them for years. He also was working at 4AD Records and Rough Trade, so incredible story. So I met him online, had a chat, thought what a fantastic guy. He can do a far better job of talking about the Cocteaus than Mark and I, because he lived and breathed them for quite some time. So we've recorded this. We're going to be intertwining this interview with some amazing tunes of the Cocteaus as well. So for those who don't know them, you really need to understand what the fuss is about this band. They are very special. So I say sit back and enjoy this interview that Mark and I did with fabulous Colin Wallace. Mark, should I just do a brief intro?
Yeah, do a brief intro, just dive in and then have a chat.
You want me to do it?
You do it.
You want me to do it? Okay.
You get paid to bullshit.
So welcome everyone to this exciting edition of the Electronic Cafe. As you know, Mark and I have been doing some great interviews. This one is going to be no exception. I was fortunate enough for a friend of mine, Rob. Hi, Rob, if you're watching. I was talking to him about the Cocteau twins, and he said, you should meet my mate Colin. I said, why should I meet Colin? He said, because he's friends with the guys in the band. He knows them really well. And he did some really cool stuff. And I said, brilliant. And so we met on a conference call about 6 months ago, or 4 months ago, actually. And we got on like a house on fire. So I introduced Colin to Mark and said, you've got to come on the show. So I just want to say a massive welcome from Mark and I, Colin. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Good to have you on. See, so correct me if I'm wrong, buddy, did you went to the same school as Robin and Elizabeth, is that right?
Yeah.
So how did that all evolve in terms of you got to know them at school? What was the kind of journey from there for the next 5-6 years? How did it all, and there's probably a lot, but in terms of top line, what were the key things that happened when you,
Well, I think I had a different circle of friends in school, because I was quite sporty and I had Robin's super intelligent. He had he got 9 O levels and 5 hires. He's one of these really, the all A's, straight A's at everyone. Yeah. He's very, very, very clever. And Elizabeth, she was this little punk girl that used to, come in, I think she had a shaved head at that time, and she used to wear a black leather miniskirt. This has come to school, and and monkey boots and fishnet tights and all of that kind of stuff. So she would look, she stood out from the crowd, I think. So I wouldn't say we were the best of friends at that time, but we kind of, knew of them, whether they, and I don't think Robert and Liz knew each other when we were all at school as well.
Right.
So that came later as well. I left school and got this. My mum got me a job in this dreadful place where they made women's clothes for Marks and Spencers, and it was just horrible. It was really horrible.
Sounds like hell.
Yeah, it was really horrible. And but it got me some pocket money and stuff like that. We also had a mutual friend, a guy called Jerry Bonadell, and we all. Grangemouth's a very, very, very small place. I think it was 25,000 people stayed in Grangemouth at that time.
Right.
And so it was, everybody kind of knew each other. And if you kind of liked a certain type of music, you kind of fell in with a certain crowd of people. So you got to know who liked. So, and my musical journey went through lots of different phases. Like my cousin Billy, he was in the Merchant Navy, and he used to bring records home from when he was out. And I remember him coming back from the Far East once, and he had all these records, and he was kind of my go-to person when I was like 11 or 12 or something like that. So he was my go-to person, for new music. So he introduced me to quite a lot of hippie music, but I thought it was, I was a big Led Zeppelin fan when I was 11. I really loved Led Zeppelin, and he came home this time, and he had this strange record that I wanted to, and he said, "Oh, you should, borrow these, take them home, and make cassettes, and and bring them back and stuff like that."
Yeah.
So the record that I don't remember, I think Bad Company was one of them, and then there was this other record that that just jumped out at me, and it had a blue record cover with a white motorway sign, and it was Kraftwerk. So I think this was in 1973, 74.
Yeah, it's about when it came out. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I got this home and played, and I'd never heard anything like this before in my life, and it was so otherworldly. It was quite an exciting record to listen to. But anyway, so the Kraftwerk record was one that I just thought, God, this is amazing. But me and Jerry and there's another guy called George Faulkner, and we all kind of knew each other, and George, he introduced me to things like the Tangerine Dream and Klaus Schulze and all that kind of krautrock stuff. So I got education through that. But we used to all go up to this Bruce Finlay had, Bruce Finlay was the manager of Simple Minds, and right. he used to have a chain of record shops called Bruce's, and so there was one in Falkirk. So we used to go up to Bruce's, and we used to just spend hours in the record shop, and that is some of the records you just bought because you kind of like the sleeve,
Yeah, I used to do that.
And I was kind of into rock music and stuff like that, and I seen this record and I thought, oh, this might be good, and it had a skeleton playing a violin on the front and stuff like that, and it was called Blues for Allah, and I thought, God, that sounds great, and I bought it, and it was the Grateful Dead, and I got it home and I played it, and it was like, oh my God, this is shit. So I was, it was kind of like trial or error, really, that you kind of just, because records LPs didn't cost that much at that time. They were like, I think they were in the sale. It was like $3.99 or something like that. So it was better, and we all used to swap records. They'd borrow each other's records, and and make cassettes and stuff like that. So you kind of you grow your musical experience through all of that stuff. And then the explosion of punk came, and so I remember hearing Sheena as a punk rocker, and that was the first 12-inch record that I ever bought.
Ramones.
And I used to jump all over the place. It was a dreadful press, and I don't think any of the 12 inches didn't jump. So it was a dreadful pressing. But the Ramones, and I remember some school friends when we used to have a laugh, and it you kind of had, even in Grangemouth, you had this energy that something was changing when you heard the Ramones, because they looked like nothing else around that time. So I was listening to all, and I was just this big bit of blotting paper that would absorb all of this kind of music, and I really, and that's why Grangemouth was really good, because it was, we had a good circle of friends and stuff
like-minded people.
Yeah, but Robin's brother, who used to promote local gigs in the Grangemouth Town Hall, and there was a hotel called the Hotel International, which was nicknamed the Nash. So we go, we go to these places, and we go because he brings some kind of Simple Minds cut their teeth in Grangemouth, so they supported everybody.
Wow.
And this was before they had any album or any single. So Jim Kerr had that sort of stupid sort of bowl cut.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
make a wedge.
Yeah, so he used to have that haircut, and
What year was this, Colin?
Oh God, don't ask me about
mid
78, 77, 78.
Yeah, it's something like that. Maybe 78, 79.
Yeah,
I remember seeing Jim Kerr with that haircut, but I think it was a bit later, like 79-ish. Where
he still had that. He still had that haircut with Chelsea girls.
Exactly. Yeah, because they always used to be playing the Lyceum when they used to come down to London, and you could just. I think it was just $2.50 at the door or something. It was not like these days, and they was always there, and Jim had that jet black bowl cut.
Yeah. And, so they would support people like Squeeze. And they would support people, just everybody. They would, they were the eternal. And then they did their own headline gig, and you've seen their development then, and it was a completely different show. So, and I think one of Robin's incarnation bands they were an eternal support band, and that's how Robin cut his teeth as well. And they had bands. One was called The Heat, and then there was All This and More. And they did mainly cover versions. Like the Dictators. Sometimes Good Guys Don't Wear White and stuff like that. And so they cut their teeth doing all of that kind of stuff. And it was just a bunch of schoolmates. And I think that's how we kind of got to know each other more seriously then. And then Robin used to DJ at the Nash. And he used to have this, I think it was a Monday or Tuesday night, and nobody was there, and he seen this girl dancing and to the music. He used to play the birthday party, so I'm jumping forward 2 years here. So he used to play the birthday party and stuff like that, and he used to have all these really interesting records, like bands like UK Decay, and he had all these 7 inches that because he listened to Peel religiously, I think, and so he would listen to all this stuff and get the 7-inch singles and grow his education that way. And I remember him playing me a very early Virgin Prunes single that was just, I think it was called Grey Light or something like that. It was absolutely brilliant. I loved the Virgin Prunes when they first started, and the birthday party. They had a big effect on Robin, I think, and on Elizabeth as well, and I think he's seen her dancing, and he's always said, him and Bill, or Will Heggie, as he's known on the Garland's record, they thought, well, maybe she can sing if she's such a good dancer. So they asked her if, and so she tried it out, but she was incredibly shy, and she's still incredibly shy to this day. And so that's kind of how the band got together. When I listened to the Beatles, it was kind of, I knew I wanted to do something, and I knew I was never going to be a musician, so it was how to do something in music. And then when my friends, the Cocteau twins, started doing doing their music, it was a godsend to me. My friend Glenn, who did the interview before, he said that he thought they had a drummer, but I don't remember that.
I've never seen any footage.
So how long did it take for the Cocteau twins, as they became, to kind of get their sound together and start performing as the Cocteau twins and effectively?
They used to rehearse quite often. They used to rehearse in this derelict place down by the Grangemouth docks, and they used to rehearse during the week above this shop in Falkirk, and so they rehearsed quite a lot and to develop song, because they we were all big Fusey and the Banshees fans, and so there was Robin really liked John McGeoch's guitar style, and Robin had a guitar that looked like John McGeoch's guitar and stuff like that. So there was all, I don't think the Banshees were the main influence, but you could tell that there was certain influences from
the early Cocteaus. They were compared to the Banshees a few times, weren't they?
They were, yeah, which I think was a bit lazy journalism, but
yeah. So how did they get signed?
Well, we went to a place called Straven, that's spelled Straven, Straven, not Strathaven. It's one of these Scottish pronunciations, and so they went to the studio for a day, and I drove them down there, and they did the demo tape in a day, mixed it and all that in a day.
Wow.
And then, I think they only made like half a dozen cassettes. I've still got the cassette somewhere. And they sent one to John Peel and one to Ivo. And then it was literally the next week, John Peel phoned up and said he wanted to do a session. And Ivo, I think, phoned the next day and said, I want to do a single. And then about an hour later, he phoned back and went, oh, fuck it, I want to do an album. so that's kind of, and that...
How it all started.
So the excitement was just, it was amazing, because 4AD was the record label that they wanted to be on because of the birthday party, and the guy that owned the record label saw something in them that, and so they had two tapes.
Two massive hits, John Peel and 4AD with two tapes. Yeah. Didn't John Peel play their whole album on one of his shows?
Yeah, he played Head Over Heels.
And then he got to he finished side one, and he
said, "Oh, yeah, that was so good." He played side two.
Unbelievable, wasn't it?
That doesn't happen anymore. That's the problem. It's all corporate kind of
playlists, and
it's such a shame. Oh God, we miss Pete.
To me.
Did you manage the Cocteau twins, or was you tour manager?
I was sort of roadie stroke to at the very start. I had a driving license. They couldn't drive, so I used to drive them. I used to hire the vans, and I drove them to do their demo tape that that they got signed on, and and then I used to drive them backwards and forwards to London to go and play to go and record. And then, they did a TV show at the Brixton Ace with Killing Joke and what's his name? Keith Allen was there, and I can't even remember what the name of the show was. And but my mates were down there working at the time, and a guy called Gary Frew, and he was a a brickie, and you wouldn't mess with Gary. And we all went to the editing after it. We drove into London, and it was getting edited straight after it. And so we got there about 1 o'clock in the morning, and Jazz Coleman was being Jazz Coleman, and Gary basically offered Jazz Coleman out if he didn't stop being a fucking idiot. And so Jazz sort of sheepishly went, to sort of calm down a bit,
Brilliant. Mate, quick. What was your best experience with the Cocteaus? If there was one that really just made it all so well for you?
No, there's quite a lot. There was a gig that they did in Den Haag. It was called the venue called Paard van Troje, which means the Trojan horse.
Is that in Holland?
Yeah, which I thought was an amazing show that they did. The place was absolutely rammed, and it was a really amazing show. The first time we went to Berlin was another really amazing experience. For OMD took them on.
That's right, yeah.
And looked after them. So they transported all the equipment, and we just drove around in a Volvo estate car, and had the best time ever, really.
Wow.
And we got to, because we'd never been out of fucking Grangemouth, really. We'd never been out of Britain or anything. So we were 4 friends driving around Europe, basically having this amazing holiday. They were doing gigs, and I was getting paid 30 quid a day plus £5 PDs. And I would thought I was a fucking millionaire. Because, in that clothing factory, I would get £27 a week or something.
Yeah.
Working 8 hours a day.
You certainly.
So you got the job as effectively their friend, driver. Just because you could drive.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to do. See, the first time I drove them down to London when they were going to do some recording, I took them, and I'd been working all day, and I used to take these. I can't remember what they were called. They were caffeine sweets. You got in the chemist or something like that, right, to keep you awake. And so I drove them down to London and to the rehearsal place. And the first time I met Ivo, I'd fallen asleep with my head in the bass bin of the PA, and he apparently thought I was dead, and I don't remember meeting him then at all. But,
on the log.
Yeah, so that's. I was never given a defined role because everybody's pigeonholed into a role.
Yeah.
Basically,
trusted friends,
part of them, and and we all did everything together, really. And so I would try, try and set them up and try to learn how, I can't string guitars or anything like that, and I tried to learn how to do it, but I used to get really nervous about doing it, that I was doing it wrong and all of that kind of stuff. But it was a guy called Pete Edwards, who was Bauhaus's sound guy, and he used to be the Lurkers sound guy as well. And he was a big influence in my life at that time, because he taught me how the etiquette of being on the road, which so he just basically sat me down and said, this is what you have to do, these are the golden rules. 1, never be late for a sound check. 2, never piss the fucking headline band crew off. And 3, if you have a problem, like if the car breaks down, get the band to the venue and just get a taxi and get them to the venue, and you stay with the car until the recovery people come. So that was the three cardinal rules, basically. So, so he kind of taught me all of that kind of stuff. And
Wow.
But the best thing about those days was there was no mobile phones, no computers, so nobody was bothering you. So you kind of were just, you would get a message when you got to the hotel sometimes that somebody wanted to talk to the band or that kind of stuff. But mainly we were just, turning up, booking into the hotel, going to the gig. They played really early. None of us were OMD fans, but Andy McCluskey was a really, really nice guy, and I got on really well with all the crew. Yep. The sound guy, he didn't quite get the Cocteau Twins because he said to me, "Hey, Colin, what the fuck is she singing? It just sounds like we're all going to die. We're all going to die." And so he just didn't get it really. So, but they got to play some amazing venues, and
yeah, I bet.
The first time we ever went to Berlin was so exciting because you went through that corridor going from the west through East Germany and getting into Berlin, and that was so exciting.
I bet.
And people don't really, young folk don't really understand all of that Iron Curtain stuff and all of that kind of stuff, and it was Russian guards and all that, so there was always this kind of nervousness that you had when you got there, because it was kind of like, oh my god, we're going into a communist country, and because you were like, we get all that stuff drummed into us that they're evil people and all that kind of stuff, and then we all found out later they're just fucking like us, really.
Yeah, exactly.
I went to Moscow a few years ago through work and stuff, and I think it was somewhere at the time that I never thought I'd probably go to. But like you say, you go there, and it is very communist, but they're just people the same as us. Yeah.
Well, the last time I went to Moscow was that I couldn't believe how expensive it was. It was the most expensive place I've ever been in my life.
It's mad though, because funny story, we were driving back to the airport to get our flight home, and the taxi driver was driving about 90 miles an hour in and out of the traffic, but he had his iPad in his sun visor watching a film.
That made you feel safe.
I was sitting in the back shitting myself because he was like watching a film and changing.
My God.
Wow.
But I was, obviously, Colin, your CV is incredible. I mean, you went to school with the Cocteaus, you toured with the Cocteaus, you know them. Worked for 4AD, probably one of the great indie labels. I was looking earlier at the bands that 4AD alone had Bauhaus, Cocteau Twins, Pixies, Birthday Party, Modern English, Dead Can Dance, Throwing Muses. Lately, they've got the National, Grimes, St Vincent, TV on the Radio, Lush, Future Islands. I mean, they're an incredible label. And you were there. The 80s and 90s were probably the golden era of indie record labels. You had Mute, and you had Creation, you had Factory, and 4AD. Obviously, I mean, those were the days when record labels were proper record labels, where you had A&R men that took chances, that backed bands, listened to tapes, signed bands. Whereas like nowadays, no one really gets a chance anymore. It's not, no one in a record company today would have a career or experiences that you had through the 80s and 90s.
I think that's right, and I think my personal experience, I think that algorithms have got a lot to answer for, because I think a lot of A&R guys rely on algorithms. I seen this feature that was posted on LinkedIn, and I saved it because I wanted to read it in depth. And apparently this woman was like, she was so excited about this algorithm or app that she'd developed that could listen to the demo tapes and tell you whether you should sign it or not.
Wow. God.
And I was thinking, what?
Yeah, because one thing an algorithm hasn't got is emotion, right?
Exactly. So
and music's all about emotion.
Yeah, to me, music's not about how many likes you've got on Facebook or how many followers you got on Instagram. It's about what it does to your gut and and how it makes you feel.
100%.
It's got to be about that. It can't, because if it's going to be as anodyne and as that's it's kind of my thing about. I've got this thing about beardy fucking singers with acoustic guitars that fucking sing these mournful songs about their long lost love, and it's just like, oh, change the record, please. And they all use the same melody, and I did ask somebody at Spotify, why is this so popular? And they said because it fits with the algorithm and it's what the kids want to hear. And that's why it's all included on these massive playlists.
There is a massive issue there, man. I don't know if you know, Mark and I did our top 30 albums of 2020, and we've had some amazing posts from Alison Moyet and Newman's website, which is brilliant. But the one that really got me happy, one of our subscribers went, I love this show, love all this music. I've got more to listen to, and I need to have a serious argument with my Spotify algorithm. And I said to Mark, that's why we did this.
Yeah,
exactly why we did, because music's too emotive to be judged by an algorithm. So I'm totally with you. Mate, quick question, mate. I know when we spoke, or when we first met, you were telling me Liz done some pretty cool sessions. One of them was with the fabulous Scott Walker, right? Was you there when that happened? Or
yeah.
So tell us a little. How does she feel about I mean, I know she was doing her reputation, but he's a legend. And
well, he was doing what's that thing called at the Royal Festival Hall in the South Bank?
Meltdown Festival.
Meltdown, yeah. And then he was basically the curator for that, for that whole event. And he asked if she was available to do this song that he had written. And I don't know if you know the dance group, the Chumleys.
Yeah.
I absolutely love. The Chumleys were going to dance to it, and I think the female ones are called the Chumleys, and the male ones are called the Fanshaws. And so they were going to perform to it. And so she was like, yeah, of course I'm going to do it. So I took her to the studio, and we were in there, and I can't remember the producer's name, but he used to work with Simple Minds as well.
Right.
He's a really, really lovely guy. And Scott was late in turning up, so we were just sitting around having a cup of coffee, and then Scott came in, and he was all, he was kind of flustered. He had a baseball cap, and he took his baseball cap. He said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I'm late. I'll just go and get freshened up, and I'll be back." And he left the control room, and the door shut, and Elizabeth went, "Fucking hell, it's Scott Walker!" And she went, "I feel better now." And I thought there were going to be hours, because usually it can take a long time to get it right and stuff like that. And then Scott, I went up, I was up in the sort of the cafeteria bit, and I was reading the paper, and Scott came up 45 minutes later, and like, "We're done. Do you want to come and hear it?" And then she said it was one of the best experiences of her life. Wow.
And then she obviously did the fabulous, I mean, everyone, it's really funny. Yeah, all the younger people, when I say the Cocteau twins, they look at me and then I sort of, as soon as I play Teardrop, they go, "Oh, that's her."
Yeah.
And it frustrates me, because the Cocteau's catalogue is amazing. But she only did, I don't know if she did more tracks, or she did any more stuff that never come out with the Massive Attack guys, or was it just that one track?
No, she did that. Album's got 3 tracks that she did.
That's right. Yes. Sorry. Yeah.
Group 4 and another track.
Gentle emotion shakes me, makes me lighter. Fearless teardrop on the fire. Fearless
but she still plays with Massive Attack. She still performs with Massive Attack.
Yeah,
You told us the story when we spoke last time about the day that she recorded the vocal for Teardrop.
Yeah, and that was the old Cocteau Twins manager Raymond Coffer had phoned up, and we were just about to go up to the studio, and she said that Raymond had just told her that Jeff Buckley had gone missing,
right,
in the Mississippi, and apparently he'd been with his friend and he'd gone for a swim, and she just, she kind of was a bit shocked, but she said, I've got to go to the studio. So I walked her up to the studio, and she recorded Teardrop that day or that evening.
Amazing song. And I've she's just done a track with Jonzi from Siggy Roz. He's just
I've not heard it.
It's good. It's good, mate. It's worth checking out. And I don't know what else she's going to be doing, but do you ever think they'll get back together, Liz and Robin, or do you think that's completely done?
Not a chance.
No, that's a shame. I live in hope as a fan, I guess.
Not a chance.
Did you enjoy what they did?
She did a song for Alan Rickman.
No.
No.
There was a film called The Winter Guest, and she did this song for Alan Rickman. And I got a phone call, and this guy went, "Hello, this is Alan Rickman," and I went, "Hello," and he said that Annie Lennox had recommended. He got in touch about Elizabeth, and so she's. And I said, "Look, I'll tell you, Alan, what I tell everybody. If she likes the music, she'll do it." And then he sent the music. She said, "I'll definitely do it." And he said, "I'll come to Bristol and I want to meet her and want to hear it." And so she recorded it with Neil Davidge. And then the door at Christchurch Studios, and there was a knock on the door. I had to go all the way downstairs and open it. And I opened it, and this voice went, "Hello," and it was Alan Rickman.
Wow.
And that guy. I wish I could. I've got a terrible memory for names, but his name something Cayman or Raymond or something like that. But he did the music for Robin of Sherwood and all that, and he orchestrated some Kate Bush stuff as well.
Wow.
So they came in and listened to it, and Alan said, he said, "Do you mind if we did some changes? And I want to direct you on it." So I took the orchestrator guy, I took him to the pub, and she sat there and did this stuff with Alan Rickman, and and Neil Davidge introduced the orchestrator guy, who I can't remember his name, to Scrumpy, and he'd never tasted Scrumpy before. So they were up in the studio recording this stuff, and then and that didn't take too long either, and he came down, he said, "That's it, finished. That's brilliant, really brilliant. Couldn't be happier." And she said that was one of the best experiences I've ever had, to be directed by Alan Rickman to do this music. Cool, and then I drove the two of them back to London, which was quite an experience. And I was playing a corner shop album, and they do a Punjabi version of Norwegian Wood, and that guy, the orchestrator guy, was sitting in the back of the cab, and he was fucking steaming, and he just went, "This is brilliant, I've got to get a copy of this, I'm going to send it to George Harrison." He said, "I won't send it to McCartney because he'll sue, but I'll send it to George Harrison." So, but that was a really lovely experience. Lovely experience.
Original
check it out. And like, when did you last see Elizabeth? I mean, is it quite a while?
Vaughan Oliver's funeral.
Oh, really? When was that, mate?
It was a year past in January.
Right.
Yeah, that was quite a shock when Vaughan passed away.
Yeah, but I know you mentioned that she signed to Blanco Negro and waiting for that album. God, I hope it happens because she's got such an amazing voice.
Yeah, I mean, and the tracks of that album are really, really great. They're really great.
Why has it not been released? Does she not want it released, or the label, or
I don't. Maybe she just doesn't. She just doesn't want to go through that whole rigmarole of that release thing.
So,
because she's quite happy with doing what she does. And she seems that last time when I seen her at Vaughan's thing, she seems like she's in quite a happy place. I think she did a couple of tracks with John Grant and stuff like that. And
okay.
She's she kind of likes just doing all of that, that kind of featured artist kind of thing, because there's less pressure on her as well.
But she's one of the great UK female voices, I think.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, you got Kate Bush, and I suppose you got Annie Lennox Prime, and Alison Moyet is very soulful and stuff. But then Liz has got such a unique voice as well. She's up there with the greats, as far as I think.
Yeah. She told me once that she could have been as big as Bjork, but she didn't really want it. She did,
really?
She really didn't want it. She's a very private person.
It makes her more intriguing, I guess, for people like us to go, why is she doing more? But what you're saying makes, if that's the way she is, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Total sense.
Yeah, I've got a lot of love for Elizabeth. She's a unique person.
Yeah, I bet. And
if she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't have to do it.
That's nice that she doesn't have to as well, I guess. There's no pressure, right? If she's, got a good life, then good luck to her. She's thoroughly deserved. I still got friends of mine that I'm still introduce them to the Cocteau Twins, and they go off and buy their stuff. So long may that continue. Long may that continue. Yeah. And favourite Cocteau's album, mate, if you had one?
Heaven or Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's mine.
Yeah, mine's Bluebell Knoll.
Right.
I have a lot of memories of that album.
Yeah, the Cocteau Twins did a Christmas gig at the Brixton Academy. I can't remember what year it was, but the who the support acts were, and they were all acoustic. They did acoustic sets. Ian McCulloch,
Jesus,
Roddy Frame, and Edwin Collins, and Jim and William from the Mary Jane, and that was the support acts.
Oh my God!
So,
that's an event.
Yeah.
Did I dream you dreamed about me? Were you here when I was for sale? Now my foolish boat is leaning, broken love long.
Yeah, but before AD work, I come from a small industrial town in Grangemouth. I was lucky enough that 2 or 3 of my friends formed a band that were really exciting, and they developed into one of the most important indie bands.
Without doubt.
Without a doubt, one of my favourite. I mean, you gave me my top 20 bands of all time. They would be in that list, and it might change, but they would be a permanent fixture in it for me.
But without dwelling on just the Cocteau Twins, because Colin, this is fantastic, all the stories you've got, but Cocteau Twins are one of those bands where when I first heard the Cocteau Twins, I thought, what the fuck? Just because that guitar sound, the drum, that drum machine for some of the stuff, and just her vocals, it was just a mix that I'd never heard before.
Yeah.
And we've got the Electronic Cafe Facebook group, and people talk about the Heaven of Las Vegas or Cocteau Twins in such high esteem that they still, some bands have their moment and they go, but Cocteau Twins, I think it's always there. Generations are finding them, and it's it's unique. And
well, that, you know, the whole thing about the Cocteau Twins right through the 4AD thing was about the love between Robin and Liz. That's the whole premise of what the Cocteau Twins are about, because they were so in love with each other, and it's, you know, and it culminated in Heaven or Las Vegas when Lucy Bell was born, and Heaven or Las Vegas is about the birth of their child Lucy Bell and stuff like that. And it's a brilliant record for that. But you know, Bluebell Knoll is a fantastic record as well, really fantastic. You know, but Robin said to me once, the Fontana records are all, he said, can you imagine, Colin, going around the fucking world and you're playing these fucking songs and she's just out there singing, Robin's a cunt, Robin's a cunt. So then Fontana stuff is about their breakup, basically. Because there's a song called Bluebeard, which is about Robin, I think.
Right.
So, you know, so the 4AD stuff, you know, you can do it in two stages. All that stuff is about the growing love and the enduring love they had for each other. And then the Fontana stuff is about their breakup. And it was, you know, and it was quite a painful breakup as well.
It's always difficult if you're in a professional relationship with the person as well. And
well, Robin didn't speak to me for a while when, you know, I helped her leave the Cocteau Twins, and because she phoned me and she said, you know, Jane, you could help me, so I kind of helped her leave. And Robin and I had I was working a rough trade, and we had a stand-up row on the telephone about this was when they were going to reform, and it didn't happen, and with the stand-up row, and James Endicott, who was the A&R guy at rough trade, said, Colin, are you all right? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. That was just a proper Scottish argument. But Robin phoned me the next day to apologise, and because we've known each other too long.
Well, Colin, thanks for your time. It's brilliant. We could talk for hours, but
we could do a 10-hour episode, to be honest.
It's just it's fascinating to speak to you and to hear these stories, and especially as it's music that we love.
Well, I'm sorry it's not chronological.
The most important thing for me is it comes from the heart, and that's why it goes down so well and resonates. So it doesn't matter what order it's in. It's great. It's really good, mate.
Yeah.
But once all this is over, once like this lockdown's over, and let me and Andy buy you dinner one night, and we'll have a chat, and we'll meet up, and we appreciate you spending your Saturday afternoon talking to us.
It's a pleasure.
Talking to us fanboys.
It's brilliant, mate. Honestly, thanks a lot. I really, really appreciate it. And as Mark says, we'll definitely go and do a proper dinner and a few drinks. So, I hope you enjoyed that brilliant interview with Colin. What a top guy, amazing stories, fascinating guy, and become a true friend of Mark and I's and the Electronic Cafe. So, Colin, thank you, mate, for taking the time out to chat to Mark and I. We thoroughly enjoyed it, and hope to see you again. But also, I hope that everyone that watches this episode really appreciates just how incredible the Cocteau Twins are and were. Just one of the greatest bands for many people. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Mark and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Electronic Cafe, and look out for that amazing interview we've got coming up with the fabulous Jennifer Touch. See you all soon. Stay safe and take care. Bye bye for now.
Stay safe Take care and thanks for watching the Electronic Cafe. We'll see you again soon.